Hey guys, it's Ryan with My Listing Club. In this video, we are continuing on with the educational series, How to Build an Online Business with the MyListing WordPress theme. As I've done throughout this video, I've used the MyListing project template as our guide, and you can get your hands on this template or learn about it by going to the MyListing Club website. That's mylisting.club, and scroll down the homepage just a little bit. Click on the MyListing project template card. This is going to walk through what this thing is all about, what it includes. There's a walkthrough video. There's a change log at the bottom that keeps people abreast of all of the changes that I'm making to it. There's a buy now button. You can buy this as a one-off product. I also include a copy if you buy any starter site from me. If you want access to the ongoing changes to this product template, you can sign up for an Ultimate Club membership, or if you are on my care plan, I also provide copies of it. Okay, so that's how you can get your hands on it. You're going to get a first-hand look at this template as we go through this educational series, and as part of this video as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this down. And here we are looking at the project template and where we left off. Since we left off, I've thought a little bit more about things in the order that I wanted to present this stuff, and did a little more deep diving and testing on some things and documentation. And I've got to where next up I want to conquer taxonomies. It's a pretty big topic, real important topic. And in this video, we're going to be talking about categories, regions, tags, and custom taxonomies. Now, as we've gone through this educational series and I've showed you this template, I've mentioned that if you use this template, it's really simple to follow. You just work top, down, left to right. So if we're looking here at the template, we start, if you were looking at the complete template, there would obviously be more columns to the left, but you just start in that very first card in the top left column, work your way down, and then once you're done with that column, move over to the next and work your way down, and so on and so forth, okay? So let's go ahead and follow that methodology, and that leaves us now with listing categories. A really important thing I want to point out before you start doing any taxonomies is to check out my guide on how to build an online business using the MyListing theme. So that first taxonomy card, categories, links out to the guide, and I think so. Now if you were to scroll to the bottom of this guide, you're going to see that, because that's kind of, this guide is following along with the videos that I put out. So right now it's at the bottom. Later on, it'll be more towards the middle. But really important, I want you to read this section before you dive in and just start adding taxonomies. What I see a lot of times is MyListing website owners will get in there. They'll just start creating listing types. They'll start adding categories, tags, whatever, or they'll import a demo and try to reverse engineer or just add on top of the demo, making changes. And they don't have a clear plan as to their taxonomy strategy. Not only the search and filtering stuff, but thinking about long-term scalability. If your site grows, is your taxonomy set up to allow for that? And then also really important is SEO. A lot of times people don't realize until it's too late that they've set up their taxonomies in a way that it doesn't help their SEO any. Okay, so really have a look at this and read this before you just jump in. You'll also notice that all I say here for these taxonomies is a checklist is included in the template. There's not a whole lot of other narrative that I wanted to go into aside from what I typed up here already, because it kind of covers all of this stuff in a blanket statement, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and close this down. So again, like, here's the checklist that you'll get, and you'll get that for all of these four taxonomies. So what you will do, as I recommend, is before you start creating your first category, if you use Asana like I do, you can just duplicate this task. So you can duplicate, and then name it by the category. And that way you just work through all of your categories and make sure everything is checked off for each category you have. Obviously, if you're doing bulk listings, then you could actually, from your import spreadsheet that you're going to use to import all of your listings, you could then just use this one task card to make sure that everything in your spreadsheet is ready to go. Okay. So let's go ahead and work through this. I'm gonna pull up a copy of this on my other screen. All right, so let's go into our MyListing website. This is a bare bones MyListing website. It's clean. It's got a few things set up as far as our pages and taxonomies just to speed up this process, but we're going to walk through all of that. As you can see, the only thing I've got enabled here is Elementor and WooCommerce, the minimum required plugins to run on my listing website. All right, so let's dive in to listing categories. For that, you go to listings and then categories. Makes sense, right? I've created a few categories before we started, but I have not done any configuration other than set a custom landing page, which we'll go over. So I just named these, as you can see, parent category 1, child category 1A, child category 1B. This just to show some sort of a hierarchy before we get going. So let's go ahead and to create a category, I'm not going to create any more, but if I were going to, you give it a name. Actually, you know what? Let's look at an actual, let's just look at a category. We'll run through it that way. So you give it a name. The slug is automatically created for you. You don't need to mess with that. Parent category, it doesn't apply in this case because this is our parent category. If you were to create a subcategory, then let's go ahead and look at that for you. So let's say child category here. So child category 1A, that's going to exist under our parent category. So when creating that, we need to specify that parent category there. That's what creates this hierarchy. Parent category, child category. Not every MyListing website is going to need a hierarchy at all. It could just be a flat category structure. Just depends on the business, depends on the website, depends on your approach, all of those types of things. Trying to think if there's anything else I want to say. I think that's all I need to say about that. So that's what the parent category is. A description. So you can put in, whatever about this category. Try to include some keywords for your SEO strategy. That's important to get in there. Just a description of what the category is. Let me go ahead from the front end before I save this to kind of show you where we're at. So we're on the Explore page here, and we've got listing type 1 has a category of parent category 1. So I've assigned that to the listing type. Okay. So if I open up, I know listing types is going to come later. What we're doing here as part of in this educational series is we're building up to building our listing types. We're getting everything in order, and then we're in a place to say, hey, now let's start building our listing types according to what we've laid out. Okay, that's what we're building towards. So, and we'll talk about listing types later more in depth, but go to listing types, go into your listing type. I've added the category, region, and tags field, so that's how that category is able to get in there. And then on the single page, content and tabs, profile tab, this is how we're displaying those. And then on the search form, advanced form, we're displaying those there too for filtering and search. Okay, so that's how these get in there. And then the preview card, in the footer section, we are showing terms and we are showing categories. So that's how this gets in there right there. Okay. All right. So let's go back to our category. Let me show you. So if we click on this category tab up here, that's done in the listing type as well. I'll quickly show you that. Search forms, explore tabs. So that's where that's coming from. Filters and categories. Okay. Filters, categories. Okay. So what we see here is we see the name of our category and we've got a listing there. But there's no real design as far if you want to add an image background, that's not in there yet. If I was to click into here, there's no description, so nothing in there, no keywords for SEO. I will say though, don't beat yourself up about putting keywords in the description here. And the reason for that is that you cannot, I shouldn't say you cannot, 99% of the time you're not going to rank your Explore page. People get hell-bent on thinking my Explore page isn't ranking, I don't know how to SEO it and all that. You don't rank the Explore page. So if you look at any popular platforms out there, big name platforms, Yelp and things of that nature, they don't rank the search and filter and whatever listings page like that, like the Explore page. That's not what you rank. You rank the listings if you can. Those are hard to rank as well. But you rank your website. You draw people into your website. You then funnel them into the Explore page or directly to the listings or to the Explore page and then to the listings. But you SEO your website. That's the thing that you can really control in SEO, okay? So I did mention in here, you might want to put some keywords in here. Don't beat yourself up about it if nothing comes to mind and you're not really an SEO person, all that. Just put a description in here, just something about it if you want. It's not the end of the world if you don't, but if it helps people identify what that category is, what it's for, then by all means put something in here. So we'll just leave that in there. Then down here you can set whether you want an icon or that's already built into MyListing, or you can upload an icon image, icon font to your website. So let's just say this was a cheeseburger category. So I'm going to add a burger icon and a color. This is actually the color that appears behind the icon itself. We're just going to leave that as is. And the text color is actually the color of the icon. Okay, so our site is black. Let's just go ahead and set this to, we'll do this orange color here. Okay, and then image next up is the background image that you're going to see on the category itself. So let's go ahead and click add image. Let's add a cheeseburger here. Okay, now the listing types field, if you leave this blank as it says, set to empty for all. If you leave this blank, it's going to apply to all listing types. Okay, so when someone's going to fill in the listing submission form, whether they are filling out a listing for a restaurant, which would make sense to have this cheeseburger category. Maybe you have whatever your other listing type is, and they go to fill that in, they're also going to see on the Explorer page, if you, whatever you specify here, that's also going to appear for those listing types as being an available term. So you can think that out. Again, all websites are different, all projects are different, so you just gotta think through that. Maybe it makes sense to apply this category to all listing types. Maybe it doesn't. Custom landing pages. I'm gonna go over that in a second. Let's go ahead and update our changes here. Now, if we go back to our Explore page, we're gonna see that these category cards change. So let's refresh this. There we go. So we've got our icon, our cheeseburger icon. We've got our cheeseburger background image. Now, if we click into this, we still see our image there, and then we see our description text that we added, and then we see the color of the icon that we added there. Okay, so we see that we have a white background there. Maybe it would look nice to put that white background in there, so there's no background essentially, and leave that orange icon. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so we see there, puts it on a white background. That looks pretty cool. Okay, I think you get the idea there. The other thing I wanted to point out is like I said, the custom landing page. This is an important one. The MyListing, as far as I can tell, and there are no help desk tickets or I've ever seen that the MyListing team has said that it's possible to do what I'm about to show you. But in my testing, like I said, I was testing a lot of this stuff just to make sure I had the most current information myself so I could relay it onto you. But like I said, I didn't find anywhere in any docs of any kind, any communication that when clicking on this icon right here on the Explore page, it will actually take you to the custom landing page that you specify here. Okay, so what I've done here is created a page called Parent Category 1 Page. And then in the category, I've specified that here. So now what I want for SEO is when someone clicks on this icon, this taxonomy, or even the word here, that it's going to take you to a custom page. Okay? And the reason you want to do that is because if you don't, it's just going to take you to a bland category page. Or in some cases, even worse, it's just going to drop you right back into the Explore page. That's kind of like a filter. But it's not good for SEO. You want to build out a custom page for your for SEO purposes. So now if I click on this, you can see here, it's taking us to our custom page. Okay? But if I was to take this off, let's go back here and refresh our Explore page. You see how it now just pops open right back into Explorer instead of our custom page. So let's go put that back. There we go. So now we're back. So what I haven't found is any of the official MyListing team saying that it's possible if you set this, what I just set, the custom landing page, to click this and go there. They're saying, again, I may have just missed it. That's all I'm saying. They were saying that the only place that this is possible is if you use the category widget, the 27 category widget. Yes, that works. That's great. And then also, if you go into the listing itself, so let's go into the listing here, and clicking on this right here, this category terms block, and you click on that, that also takes you there. But again, this is new information. I have never seen them say that you could do this, but it's definitely possible, as I'm showing you right there. Okay, very important for SEO. I'll show you kind of what I did with some of my starter sites. In this case, let's look at a region. So if you click on region here, it's going to take you to these custom pages for SEO. So you've got your state in the United States, you've got the state, and then you've got the city here. So this is be a child region page. And it's all custom built out with information about that region, some listing feeds, some blog posts related to it. And you just do the same thing with categories. You want those categories pages to be built out, have links at the bottom here that link to your top categories, all of that type of stuff. So super important. You don't want to just dump people right back into the Explore page is what I'm getting at. Okay. And you can do the same thing with all of these taxonomies. So categories, regions, and tags. You can also do it with posts too, but it requires a code snippet to do that. That's a little outside of what we're talking about here, but it's possible. Again, listing types are a post type. Posts are a post type. Pages are a post type. Okay? And a form of a taxonomy, I guess is what I'm trying to say. All right, so we've covered everything in there as far as configuring the categories, as far as the checklist goes. Yeah, that's about it. Let's close all these down and kind of start from scratch here. Let's go back to our dashboard. Then listings and regions. So it's the same deal. If you go into a region, same thing. You got the same set of everything. I showed you the custom landing page there. If I was to set that, I would set that to parent region 1 page. So let's go ahead and set that. Parent region 1 page. Let's update that. Now if I go into my listing type, we'll go to listing type 1, and then in the preview card, let's set our term to be regions instead of categories. Okay, so now we see that flipped from category to region down here in the card. So now if I click on this, it should take me to my custom page. And there it go. So now you build this out however you want. Okay, now the options are, like, obviously this page can be edited with Elementor. You can use Gutenberg or whatever you want. If you use Elementor, for example, you can get in there and you can do some really highly dynamic stuff. You can also download the templates from the club. So if you go to the club website and then go to resources and then templates, if you do a search for region, that's going to give you those region pages that I've already built out. It really gives you a great starting point, so you don't have to build those out from scratch. And then you can take these and turn them into category pages. It's the same thing. That's why I didn't create separate ones for categories too. But yeah, so parent and child region pages are here. Okay, so here's the parent, and then this will be the child region page. Okay, so you've got the state, and then in the child, you've got the state and then the city. So these are available to download for you. And you just build those out, and then you can, like I said, you can also use these for your category pages too, adjusting the design. But when you get in there, the title, all of this stuff can be set for being dynamic, right? So if someone was to click on here, Parent Region 1, that's the name of our taxonomy. So that would, when you came in here, this would dynamically populate with that name. So you can make these really dynamic depending upon your needs. You can also, it's more work, but you can create a page. If you don't want to get into doing all the dynamic stuff, you can create a page and then use it as a template. So you can clone it over and over and over again. The only problem with doing it that way is if you've got a ton of regions or a ton of categories, then you see how it could be very, very time consuming. So the more you can make this dynamic, the better. Another option you can do is you can use Elementor Pro, and you can create like a template page for regions that apply to your categories or your regions. So you have like one template that applies to all. I might do that in this next upcoming starter site, see if I can pull that off. But I'm 99% sure that you should be able to set one template page and assign it to all of your categories or all of your regions based on a template. The caveat with doing that is, like, what if you want to put some of these region-specific ads in the side or whatever? You got to really think that out. That's why sometimes cloning a page and doing as much dynamic parts as you can might be the more optimal way. It totally depends on your site. If you've got people helping you with your site, like a staff, it just really depends, or outsourced or whatever. There's just more than one way to skin a cat is what I'm trying to tell you. But you got to get those pages in there for SEO. Now, tags, I wouldn't concern yourself with tags as far as building custom pages for those. Those tend to be so granular that there's not a ton of SEO value in general with tags in the SEO world. I've really just focused a lot of your time on categories, and if your website is really dependent upon regions, then do regions as well. So if your MyListing site has nothing really to do with location, you could care less about it, like maybe everything's virtual, then don't worry about doing those region pages necessarily. But definitely if it's like a city, if it's a MyListing site about local destinations and things like that, you really want to hit those region pages super hard. And again, check out that guide, the Build an Online Business with the MyListing Theme Guide. Check that out and really understand what I'm saying about the scalability. If you have any questions on that, bring it to the Facebook group or the new MyListing community on Circle, and let's all talk about it if there's any questions. But yeah, that covers categories and regions. I don't think we really need to go over tags specifically, it's the same thing. It's a similar checklist. All right, so let's talk about custom taxonomies. So for custom taxonomies, you go to listings and then taxonomies. I've created a couple here. It's really simple. I'll just click add taxonomy, give it a name, and that's it. And then MyListing will generate a slug for it. Now, there are some caveats when you're doing this. You want to keep the names short. I'm not sure where the character cutoff is, but what I found is when the name is too long, MyListing literally won't even accept it. It just keeps spitting it back out. So be as short with your custom taxonomy name as you can, but still being descriptive so you know what it is, because we can't really put a description in here or anything like that. Okay, but I've created two for us here. Once you create those, MyListing is going to dump those in here as if they're a taxonomy. So let's go into this first one here, custom tax. You'll see everything looks the same. It's the same fields, everything. It's like you just duplicated the categories taxonomy, for example. So why would you want to do this? Now, I've seen some websites, I've worked on some websites, I've done some projects where we never even touched categories, regions, and tags. We just said the hell with that. We're just going to do custom tax for everything. It all comes down to that scalability that I was talking about. Maybe your website doesn't even have a need for tags. So when I think of tags, I think of like amenities, like accepts credit cards, has Wi-Fi, things like that. And then once you get down there to that granular level, that's it. That's like what the purpose that tags serves. I mean, it's very specific. You might not even need those depending on your project, but custom taxonomies can be huge if you just do err on the side of doing a custom taxonomy for everything. And you go in there. So we've got our custom tax 1. Let's say cust tax 1A, and we go through and we do our stuff here. And then in the listing types here, you can get really granular. So you really silo everything, and really limit that bleed over into the other listing types. Okay. Yeah, it really depends. I've also seen some MyListing sites that are so basic, they literally have categories only, or they, categories and regions and no tags, or just categories, regions, and tags. I've seen some with category, region, tags, and then a few custom taxonomies. And then, like I said, I've seen some where you just skip the categories, regions, and tags and go custom taxonomy for everything. So I said, why would you want to do that? The most performant taxonomies are the categories, regions, and tags, and then the custom taxonomies. If you get into the listing types and you're adding stuff here, like let's say these check boxes, or select. That's a good example. If you're using a select, and then you add your options in here, like yes, no, maybe, and let's just say you had a bunch more, whatever. This field is not as performant as if you were to jump in and do a custom taxonomy field with those values in it. Hopefully that makes sense. So that's a reason why you would use custom taxonomies. A reason why you would use that. So let's say you've outgrown your categories, you've outgrown your regions, you've outgrown your tags, you need something else. That's where, instead of jumping down here and doing these built-in fields that MyListing gives you, use a custom taxonomy that is more performant. So that way when you're on the Explorer page here, that's where that performance is going to really come in. That search and filtering is going to happen faster than if you were to use one of these built-in select forms or multi-select or whatever. Okay, so as you can see here, if we add this custom taxonomy field that we created, if we add that gives us that ability to select our template. So select, multi-select, hierarchy, checklist, It gives us that same stuff that is built into these other fields. It's just more performant. Okay? And lots more flexibility. Okay, so that's why we want to do that. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to mention here. Do we want to talk about permalinks in this video? No, we're not. We're going to tackle that in a different one. I think. Sorry, I'm thinking on the fly here. I'm starting to think that maybe I want to do it now, and it's because. Okay, let's do it. Let's do our permalinks here. So. Yeah, so like the next card here is permalinks. So let's get into that. So under settings, so WordPress dashboard, settings, and then permalinks. This isn't related to, well, it's kind of related to MyListing, but it's more like a WordPress thing in general. I recommend setting your common setting permalink structure to this post name here. So set that to post name. Then you've got some options here that some of which relate to MyListing. The big one here is the listing base. So if we look at, let's pull up a listing here. So we see our listing base here. It's got domain name / listing, that's our base, / the name of our listing. And that's created with this base. Now you can add other things here. So we said that parent cat 1 is our category here. So we could go in here and we could change this to grab this listing category here, drop that in. We could drop in our region. You know, all of this is good for SEO. So let's do region first. I like to do region first, and then the category. Sorry, listing type and then category. Like so. And then at the very end, it's going to drop in that listing for us. So let's go ahead and save that. It's going to regenerate our permalinks. I'm going to duplicate this tab just so we can show the before and after. So here, again, /listing / listing name. So let's refresh this. So now we see /region / listing type. Yeah, that's right. So region, listing type, category, and the name. So yeah, that's perfect. That's really good for SEO, and you can go deeper, which I'm going to cover here in a second. That's really good for SEO. So and again, it depends if let's say this website is like a local guide. So you want that region stuff to be in there. It's really important. So yeah, first slug there, you know, of your permalink is the region. Then we hit it with the listing type. So now we're categorizing what we're listing about. So listing type, and now we're getting into the actual category, breaking it down. So it could be parent region / listing type. The listing type could be restaurant. Parent category could be pizza place. And then finally, we're ending it with the name of our listing. Okay, so that is how that is done. Now, as I said before, if you go to the Explorer page here, and we were to click on parent region 1, that's going to drop us in there, and that's awesome for SEO. But now let's say you want to take it a step further. Let's say you want to do what I've done here. So now we're clicking on, when we click on San Diego, that is a city of a state in the United States. That's essentially our child region page, okay? So again, in our URL structure, we've got the state, which is the parent region, and now the city, which is the child region. This is not possible without code, okay? And you can get that from the MyListing Club website too. So that's under, I believe it's in the store. It's an ultimate add-on, and it's this MyListing add-on for Permalink Manager Pro. Okay, grab that, and drop that into your website. I give you instructions. What that's going to allow you to do is get granular like this. Get down into those cities, into your structure. Okay. So then now when you go here, instead of, let's go back to our listing here. Yeah, so parent region, listing type, category, name. Now, what you can do, let's go back into our listings. Let's go into our regions. Let's put a child region in here. So let's do child region 1A. And we're going to specify the parent as parent region 1. So we see that hierarchy starting to build right there. So now let's go back to our listing. Let's refresh our permalinks just to be sure. So to flush your permalinks and refresh them, you can click the save changes here under the permalinks option, and that should regenerate them for you. Okay, so we see there that stays the same. Now let's actually edit our listing type, or our actual listing here. So now, instead of saying just our parent region, now what if we wanted to do our child region? So parent region 1, child region 1A. Let's see what happens. We see there that nothing happens, right? Now, if I go back and I was to take out the parent region and just specify the child region, we now see that is replaced in the URL. So you see the problem. If getting more granular, getting down into those more specific fine-tuned regions is important to you, you can't do that out of the box. You got to have that add-on that I showed you. So even though those are tied there, so another thing. So let's look at this. What if you did in that listing? So you've got child region 1A. Let's put back the parent. Let's just say for fun that someone chose both of those parents, right? We see that parent 1 is in there, okay? Let's go back and edit this. Let's say that somebody accidentally chose parent region 2 first, but they really wanted parent, let's save this. It kind of gets stuck in there and you got to refresh it. But let's say they came in here first and they chose parent region 2, and then they did 1. They really wanted parent region 1, but they accidentally chose parent region 2 first. Let's see what happens. Sorry, let's go back to the Explore page. Oops. So we see what happens is things start to break. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Whatever you select first trumps everything is what I'm trying to say here. So put that back, refresh. Okay, everything's back. So yeah, it's just that's another caveat is whichever taxonomy is selected first, regardless of if it's a category or a region, that's where it's going to go first. So let's look at that too. So category, let's put back our parent region 1. That's cool. Let's just take all of our categories out and update. Let's check our URL structure here. So you see what happens when you don't put any category in there. It's going to say uncategorized, which obviously is not good. So let's go in here and let's say again that they want to, instead of putting parent category 1 in there first to build that hierarchy, let's say they did child category 1A first and then did the parent like that. So child first, parent second. See what happens. So there you go. You see that the child category is in there. So now that user comes back in there and they're like, oh crap, I did these in reverse order. Now let's remove child A. So that drops parent in 1, but look what happens when you choose 1 again. It puts it right back in front. So you gotta uncheck that, go back in, select that to get that order back. See, so it's pretty. It can be tricky stuff. It really can. The order is important for what your users select the stuff in. Now again, you can change the way this stuff is built. So in your listing type, for the category field, you can change it. So maybe term multi-select doesn't work because you want a hierarchy. You want to force people to choose the right one. So in that case, you could choose hierarchy. There's caveat, and I will state this, there are caveats with, this is one of the downsides, in my opinion, of this particular type of field, is there are downsides to all of them, okay? Obviously, term select is very limiting. You can pick one. So let's just look at these. Term select 1. They can choose 1 out of the list. So that's limiting. So what that might cause you to do is then need to create, this is where a custom taxonomy could come in. Now let's say you need to create like a bunch more categories and give them single select, force people just to pick the one there. That way they always are insured to get their parent category in their URL. Okay, then the next thing is multi-select, which we just looked at. The risk with the multi-select is people could choose the wrong one first and not get the URL that they want. Next one up is hierarchy. So you have to first choose the parent, which is awesome. Choose the parent and then choose the child. So that forces somebody to pick that hierarchy that looks good. So parent cat 2, child cat 2a. Let's go ahead and update that. Let's look at the listing URL now. So now we see that it changed from parent region 1, listing type, category, and listing name to region, listing type, child category. So it went from parent category to child category because that was that's how we drilled down into choosing it. Right? Oh, sorry. So there we go. We were forced to drill down and choose that. So now that's what is in our URL. Okay? And then the last option is obviously limiting to. So if we edit our listing, we've got a checklist. Could be even worse. So it's as a user, they're going to have no idea. And also, as you can see here, all of these are in here. If I edit the category, let's do child 1A, cat 1A. We see here that we left listing types completely blank. That's going to apply to all, which is what we are seeing here. It's all of them are being dumped into this listing type, this one listing type. But if we want to separate those out, let's choose a specific listing type. Let's choose listing type 2 in this case, because we're working in listing type 1 and we want to keep that, listing type 1. Actually, hold on, let me leave that. All right, let's clean this up. Let's clean anything that has the 2 in it. Let's clean that up. So let's go back to categories. Let's edit these 3 real quick, and then let's specify a listing type. Listing type 2. Listing type 2. Listing type 2. Okay. Now, when we refresh this, we should see all of the 2s drop out of here. There we go. So that's one of the perks of specifying a listing type in here. It just cleans things up, cleans up the listing submission form. Makes that form shorter, takes a lot of the noise out from people when they have to select stuff. Really good stuff. Okay, so now you come in here and you've got a checklist, and your user's just going to be like, I have no idea what the heck that means. Like, why is there? It's like a minus. It's not a minus sign, but it looks like one. What do I choose? And let's say they come in here, they just pick random stuff. So let's see how that affects the URL. So they go in here. Right now it's child cat 2A to refresh. So it's picking up child cat 1A. And that's because that's the first one we chose. So if we go in here, let's uncheck that category. We should see this URL flip to the B child category. And it did, right? It has to do with the order. So now 1B is in there. Let's say, they're like, oh crap, I want these two categories, the parent and the child. Because I selected child category 1B, even though I chose the parent here, it still should show the child. Oh, no, I lied. So there we go. It's it's the wild, wild west. I would have thought it would be the other way, but it's a different behavior for the checklist. But again, the users aren't going to know what the heck to do with this in most cases. Yeah, so you can see the different limitations there. Okay, so that's how you build the permalinks. That's what it's for. As I said here as I say in the project template, having the / listing, so / the base, the default base listing, and then the listing name. That sucks. I mean, you can remove listing. If you're going to go with this, then there's a code snippet. You can just remove listing altogether. That's just gross. I would not roll with this. But instead, for SEO, you definitely want those better links. So I showed you how to do it with the built-in stuff with MyListing. If you want to get more granular and really target those city areas or those subcategory pages, you need the MyListing add-on for Permalink Manager Pro, and you need the Permalink Manager Pro plugin. So very inexpensive stuff. So go to the MyListing Club website. On the store page, you can get that add-on here, and then under the deals section, you can do a search for Permalink, and you get 15% off Permalink Manager Pro, which is already super inexpensive as it is. So just that quickly, that cheaply, you can have SEO-optimized permalinks. Okay? All right, guys, I think that is good for this video. I went a little further than I thought I was going to go in this video, but I think now that I'm looking at it, these 5 things really tie in nicely together, and we're getting closer to building our listing types. All right, thanks everybody. Please subscribe to know when the next video comes out for this series or the next video in general. And thanks again for the support. Talk to y'all later.